Good morning, and we're back for another session. This is our third live event, as it were, and we'll see how we get on. We're going to be talking about a variety of things today, but I'm going to start off with slight apologies. It seems that a number of you struggled to find the video on Wednesday, so we've tried to change a few things, and one of those is to make it much more easy to find the video on our page. Now, there's also seems to have been a few problems. So my wife, Helen, has created a little video for you if you're still having problems. She's talking about how to find the video, but also sound problems, how you might solve them, and picture quality. Some of those is simple things like closing your other apps if you want an iPad or something like that. So do have a look at that. That's on our channel page. You'll see it. It's got a picture of Helen's phone, which has Alfie in sunglasses on it. So that should be easy enough for you to see. Good morning, everybody. We've got Will moderating again, Will Parsons. So those of you who know him, do give him a shout out. And the other thing is I am going to try to eat to the camera a little bit more. There's so many things to distract me here. It can be difficult. So we've moved the screens around a little bit to make that easier for me. So hopefully everything goes tickety-boo today, and we will see. So what are we talking about today? We've got our usual quizzes. I've got had a few questions that I'll be able to answer. Our seminar, we're going to be talking about leads today. So relatively straightforward to start to today. And then as we go on, we'll maybe look at leads in a little bit more detail. And then, of course, we'll have a second quiz as well. I'm sort of going to start with another question that a number of you have asked, which will be around that one no trump or one of a major opening, an interesting topic. We'll also talk about online bridge again, some of the feedback we've had and some interesting ideas from that, and then we'll finish up. Okay, so let's remind ourselves of the quiz that we had on Wednesday. Okay, there you go. And there's your hand. And before I go deeply into that quiz, I'm going to chat about the actual opening bid itself. Okay. So, should you open one heart or should you open one no trump when you have a 5-card major and 12 to 14 points? There are a variety of thoughts on this. For me, it should be a judgment call. You should not have a rule, and that's important. For me, if you've got a good major, you should be bidding it. Your majors are so important. Now, I'll define good in a moment. What worries me is that a lot of people say, well, if I open one heart, what can I rebid? And the idea is that one heart and then a 2-heart rebid actually only promises 5. And people say, oh, no, it promises 6. It doesn't in any system. And let me show you what I mean by that. So imagine you had this hand. Okay, imagine you had this hand. What would you open with this hand? Okay, have a little think about that. And I think most of us would open one heart. It's a normal one heart opening. Now, imagine your partner bids 2 diamonds. What would you bid now? You've actually got to rebid 2 hearts. You can't bid 3 clubs, because that would be forcing the game. So actually your 2-heart rebid doesn't just only promise 5, it doesn't have to be a good 5. We'd love it to always bid, we'd love it to be 6, we'd love it to promise 6, but unfortunately it never does. There's only one time when your partner bids, so I suppose if it goes 1 heart, 1 spade, 2 hearts, you could play it as 6. I don't, but you could do, okay? Now, over 1 no trump, it's a different matter. In all systems, 1 heart, 1 no trump, 2 hearts promises 6. So you don't gain much. Let's go back to that quiz anyway. Go back to the quiz. What I'm trying to say here is that when you are choosing between one heart and one no trump with a hand like you can see on the screen here, you should be looking at the quality of the major. And for me, if I'm dealt ace king to 5, I'm bidding one heart. Particularly if it's spades. If it was a spade suit, I would do it undoubtedly. Okay, now don't get me wrong, people teach different things and you're welcome to go with them, but if I was you, I'd be using some judgment here. Okay, so if I have 2 of the top 3 honours, I would usually open 1 of the major, or perhaps even 3 of the top 5 cards. So something like ace jack 10 to 5, I would still choose one heart. But you can choose that with your partner. If you're in a regular partnership, choose what you fancy to do. Anyway, that's enough about what you'd open with the bidding, because of course the bidding quiz is about what you're going to bid next. You opened one heart, your opponent overcalled one no trump, your partner bid 2 diamonds, pass from south, and it's your bid. Vulnerabilities love all, and we're going to come back to the quiz later on. What we're now going to do is go to the PowerPoint. So what we're going to do is talk about leads this morning. Okay, we're going to talk about leads and go basically choosing the right card. We're not going to choose the suit we're going to lead today. We're going to choose the right card to lead. Okay, so which card do we lead from a long suit? Which card do we lead from a long suit? Okay, so let's bring me onto the screen. I'm afraid to say you're not going to get away with that. So which card? So from a long suit, I'm hoping that most of us probably play what we call 4th highest leads. Most of the world do. Of course, you don't have to, and you will come across people who play other things. However, as you all know, it's not just 4th highest. I hope you all know it should be 4th highest from an honour. And that is the full definition. And we're going to see that because I want you to choose between a different card, whether you've got an honour in the suit or not. And that's throughout the hand, as we're going to see. Some of you, of course, mentioning top of a sequence leads, we'll be looking at those in a moment. So if we hold the king, jack, 8, 4 and 2, what would we lead from this suit? Okay, king, jack, 8, 4, 2, what would you choose to lead? And I hope it would be your 4th highest and therefore the 4. Okay, now what I'm going to do is give you a different kind of suit where you have really bad cards, so there's no honour. And to be honest, I may include the 10 here. If I had the 10, 7, 6, 4, 2, I would regard the suit as a weak suit. And when I have a weak suit, okay, I'm going to lead either the highest or the 2nd highest. I prefer the 2nd highest. But some of you might play what's called the top of nothing, and I don't mind that. But sometimes that 9 could be valuable, so I prefer to lead the 2nd highest. Now, the idea here is that we're trying to distinguish between hands that have an honour and hands that don't. And this is going to make a lot of difference in the play. And it isn't just on the opening lead. It is going to be throughout the hand. When I make a lead, I'll be saying, partner, oh, I've got an honour. Why not lead the suit back to me? Or if I lead a higher card, I'm going to say, partner, I'm leading the suit because I think it's the right suit to lead. But bear in mind, I haven't got a high card. So you don't have to lead it back if you don't want to. So from 9, 7, 6, 4, 2, we're going to choose the 7. And certainly most people are coming through with 7s on the screen. So that's from your long suits. And if you choose to lead the suit, it would be both against no trumps and suit contracts. Okay, let's carry that on. So what do we lead from a doubleton? So from short suits, from a doubleton, we're going to lead the top, and I think most of us do that. We don't necessarily like doubleton leads, but if you're forced to lead one, you would play high then low, and this of course gives your partner a message that hopefully he knows you've just got 2 cards in the suit. Okay, so high then low, and if your partner's bid the suit again, the same again. how about from a singleton? What do you lead from a singleton? Well, of course, generally we lead the highest card from a singleton. Okay, now that is a joke, of course, and I'm going to laugh at it because most of you are probably behind me. Okay, but obviously from a singleton we can't distinguish because we only have one card. Obviously, I know there are people out there who use the hand on the shoulder technique there. Completely illegal, but it's a very useful way of telling your partner you've got a singleton. Again, I will repeat, that is illegal. Please don't do that. Okay, so that's short suits and long suits. There's one suit that sits in between, and that is when you've got 3 cards. What do we do when we have 3 cards in the suit? Well, basically we are doing the same. We are leading low from an honour. Okay, so from King 7-2, we would lead the 2. And what about 3 rubbishy cards? What would you lead from 3 rubbishy cards? Well, a few people predicting that already. And of course that would be middle, up, down. We call it mud. Okay, and the reason we're doing this middle, up, down is trying to avoid getting mixed up with doubletons. So we lead from 8-5-2, you might lead the 5, then play the 8, then play the 2, the middle, up, down. Not our favourite lead. Why? Because it's not always easy for your partner to identify what you're doing. Okay, but of course sometimes maybe 3 suits have been led, so we choose to lead the 4th suit or something like that. The other interesting element here, which will cause some controversy with some of you, of course, is that these choice of leads are the same if it is your partner's suit as well. Okay, and that is important. So if my partner has bid a suit, I still make the normal lead. Look at that 3-card suit you can see on the screen there from King 7-2. If my partner had bid that suit, I would still be leading the 2. And of course, people say, oh yeah, but how do you know, how does he know you've got an honour? Well, of course, by leading the 2, you are saying you've got an honour. If you just lead out the king, which traditionally people did, the problem is that, of course, your king doesn't kill anything. And sometimes you'll allow the opponents to escape with a queen or something like that. So even if your partner's bid the suit, I want you to make the normal lead. So low from an honour, higher if you haven't got an honour, etc. So let's move on to some of the reasons why. So here I've got the dummies cards at the very top there, and your hand holds the King 10-7. Your partner's going to lead this suit. He chooses the 4 of clubs. Dummy plays small, and you have to choose your card. So the 4 of clubs from your partner, 2 of clubs from dummy. What do you fancy from the east hand? So it's your hand. And this is crucial, getting used to this, okay? The 4 is led, you're expecting your partner to have an honour, and there's only one that is missing, it's the queen. So you should be pretty confident that your 10 of clubs is going to win the trick. And it's so important. I'm glad to see everybody saying 10, 10, 10, 10 down in the chat, okay? And you can do it with confidence if you trust your partner. So let's just see that. Let's put the full holding out. Your partner's led the 4, so we're putting him with an honour, so our 10 wins the trick. And of course now you'll probably choose to switch suits. Okay. The problem is, clearly you could have won the trick with the king. Had you played the king, declarer would be able to finesse your partner's queen. So that would be no good at all. Okay. Now let's compare that to this next one. Your partner does not have an honour. Okay, now if West makes the mistake of leading the 4 here, we should still be playing the 10, and that's crucial because we're trusting him. We are placing him with an honour, and that 10 will lose to the queen, and in a suit contract, that is not good news. Your partner has made a mistake by leading the 4. Your 10 is perfectly reasonable. You expect him to hold an honour. Okay, and now, of course, if we're in a suit contract, then of course declarer can win the ace on the next round and actually rough your king away, which would be rather nasty. So we put a cross through the 4. Your partner's not going to lead the 4. Here he would choose the 6, and you've got to work hard to work out what that means. Some of you may be familiar with the rule of 11. Either use that, or you can just simply work out what your partner might have. There's only 2 cards above the 6, so I suppose he might have led from the Queen 9 6, but what's important is he hasn't led 4th highest. Let me just explain that rule of 11. The rule of 11 says you take the card led away from 11, so 11 minus 6 equals 5, and it would suggest that if the lead is the 4th highest from an honour, there should only be 5 cards higher between dummy and your holding. So that's 5 cards higher than the 6. You can see 6 cards higher. The King 10 7, the Ace Jack 8. So that means that it is not a 4th highest lead. And therefore you should be thinking, partner might not have an honour, so I'm going to put my king on that, take that trick, and quickly change suit. So we make sure that we win our king rather than have it roughed away. Okay, so trying to work out whether your partner has an honour or not is an important aspect of leading, not just the opening lead, but throughout the hand. Okay, so what about honour leads? Let's look at some suits up here and see what we would lead from these. And hopefully some of them are going to be easier than others. Those spades look beautiful. So I've got 2 columns there, versus suit contracts and versus no trumps, versus suit contracts and versus no trumps. Let's see how we go here. So what would you lead against a suit contract? Well, I hope we're going to lead top of the sequence. 3 cards in a row, the king, and the same against no trumps. Really important that if you have 3 high cards, you do not need to use your low ones early on. The hope here is by the time the king, queen and jack are played, you will have established the suit. Of course, you're hoping nobody else has 4 of them, and therefore your 4 and 3 will be winners. Clearly, if we lead the 4 of spades, we could allow the 10 to win a trick and then the ace to win it subsequently. How about hearts? Okay, in hearts against a suit contract, we're going to lead the king, and against no trumps, we're going to lead 4. Congratulations to Steve Bailey, who's very succinctly put all the answers in one little thing on the chat there. That was quite clever. So why is there the difference? Why is there the difference between the king of hearts and the 4 of hearts here? And that's the crucial thing on here. Well, with 2 cards against a suit contract, I think we should still be leading high, because the problem is if you've got a 5-card suit, someone will have a doubleton. And if you lead low at the first one, maybe the jack wins by someone of the opponents, well, they can win the ace and then they ruff the rest. So we use the king and queen on the first 2 rounds, and after that people are ruffing. In no trumps though, it's different. In no trumps, the first 3 rounds are very important because you're trying to establish your suit. So you lead low if you've only got 2 touching high cards, and that allows your partner to use anything he's got. Maybe a jack knocks out the ace, and then you can run the suit. So you lead low from just 2 cards against no trumps, but lead high against a suit. In diamonds, subtle, but we're going to be leading the king both times, as a number of you have seen there. And that is what we call a broken sequence. King, queen, 10. Just one little gap there. So I'm still regarding that as 3 high cards. Whenever there's one little gap at the end, we're leading the top of the high cards. Okay, so the king of diamonds there. Okay, and the idea is you're hoping to swallow the jack later. You're using the king, queen and 10 on the first 3 rounds. You're hoping that the 4 and 3 will be winners by the time you get there. And actually, the queen of clubs is the same because I've given you queen, jack, 9. Okay, so we're going to lead the queen. And that, as I say, those are called broken sequences. Subtle, but important to know them. So king, queen, 10, queen, jack, 9. And in fact, ace, king, jack is also the same. So let's sum that up. 2 touching high cards to lead high versus a suit. 3 high cards to lead high versus no trumps. I sort of called it 2.5 high cards, as it were. So king, queen 10, queen, jack 9 are enough to lead high against a no trump contract too. Okay, here's four more sets of cards. So spades first. Well, in spades, I'm thinking I have got 3 high cards, but none of them are touching. And if none of them are touching, I'm afraid you've got to lead your 4th highest. So you're going to lead the 4 of spades. Okay, the 4 of spades against even. Now, you may not choose to lead the suit against suit contract, of course. I'm not talking about choosing the suit. I am assuming that you have chosen to lead spades, you would lead the 4. Okay, it would be perhaps an unusual lead against a suit contract. From the heart suit. Again, against a suit contract, you just need 2 touching. So we will lead the queen and the 4 of hearts against a no trump. So remember, you need 3 high cards to lead high against no trumps. Queen, jack 6 isn't enough. Okay, for Alfie it might be, because Alfie's still trying to work out the difference between a 6 and a 9. That's my son, by the way. I will introduce you to him later. Okay, maybe not today, but later on, maybe next week. But clearly, queen, jack 6, not enough. How about diamonds? Diamonds, we do have 3 high cards, so I'm going to lead, and 2 of them are touching, so we're still leading high, but we're leading the top of the touching cards. So it's what we call an interior sequence. I would lead the jack, okay, against both no trumps and suits. There are different forms. I see Stuart Pye saying there that he might lose the 10 because he plays something called strong 10 leads. That is a system you would have to agree with your partner. I'm not going to go through that now. Standard leads, with standard leads, you'd be leading the jack of diamonds, the top of the sequence. Okay. When we choose the suit we're going to lead, we'll be looking at that later, probably next Monday. Okay, so there's a few questions about, oh, well, would I do this if I've got entries, etc. Okay, what we're focusing on here is if we choose to lead the suit. Last but not least, the clubs. What are you going to lead from the clubs? And of course, there's a subtle trick here, because against a suit contract, as the opening leader, you should not be underleading an ace. Okay, so a number of you there are right. You're leading the ace of clubs if you choose to lead the suit. Again, we probably won't lead the suit usually, because I don't like leading aces by themselves. But if you choose to lead the suit, you would lead the ace. Against no trumps, don't forget you've got 3 high cards, ace, jack, 10. So we're going to lead the top of the touching ones again, the jack there. Okay, so not the 4th highest, because you've got 2 touching high cards out of 3 high cards. So I'm going to lead the jack of diamonds, sorry, the jack of clubs, rather like we led the jack of diamonds. Okay, so the top of an interior sequence has come up there. And never underlead an ace against a suit contract. There are many, many rules that experts love to break. You will not find them breaking this one very often. Okay, you really will not. Okay, so let's have a look at some of the reasons why. Well, what's the first reason you do not underlead an ace against a suit contract? Well, the first reason is because the opponents might have a singleton. Now, you don't mind in a no trump contract, because you can come back to the suit and hopefully your ace will tidy up. But in suit contract, if they've got a singleton, maybe even a singleton king or a singleton opposite a king, they win the first trick and your ace never makes a trick. Okay, and your partner doesn't like that. The second reason is your partner's going to rely on the information. So let's look at the situation here. Again, I've put you the king 10-7. Dummy has the queen 8-2 there. Your partner leads the 4. Dummy plays small. Which card do you choose to play? Okay. Now, some of you may be thinking, oh, Paul, I don't know, what is it, a suit contract or a no trump contract? Well, actually, the answer is the same in either case, and that is crucial. Okay. In no trumps, if you play the king of clubs on the first trick, well then the dummy's queen will eventually make a trick. So therefore, why not play the 10? If it loses the jack, you are not too worried, because eventually, if your partner's got the ace, you will be able to run the suit, and I'll show you that in a moment. But of course, your partner might have the ace jack of the suit and your 10 will win the trick. But the crucial thing, I'm glad most are saying 10 there. The crucial thing is here. So against a suit contract, the beauty is you know your partner hasn't got the ace. And therefore, you actually know that the 10 will force the ace. And that is beautiful. And now your partner hopefully gets the lead again. He can lead the jack. Seems an odd lead, but because the 10 has gone, the jack and the 9 are touching. And the jack will squash the queen against your king, and your make sure declarer only makes the ace of the suit. Okay? And so you might think, well, what happens if partner's got the ace and not the jack? Well, the key here is he will not have led this way against a suit contract. Okay, so it goes 4-2, you still put the 10 in, and it looks a bit odd because you've lost to the jack. But if this is in no trumps, you are going to have to lose a trick anyway, if you've chosen to lose the suit. And now the suit runs. So your king can win the next trick, the ace wins and drops the queen, and you make your 4 tricks. Beautiful. So the key here is, can you see that if your partner had chosen to lead the 4 of clubs against 4 hearts, it would be a disaster. The jack would win the first trick. Okay, the jack would win the first trick and declare would only lose 1 trick. So the key is, do not lead that 4. However, do not lead the ace either. So this is important. When I say do not underlead an ace against a suit contract, I also don't want you to lead the ace either. Can you see that? Okay, because the ace lead should promise a king. It's the top of ace sequence. Okay, so that's crucial. Get used to that and you will get better, because the 10 of clubs is a crucial play here. Clearly, if on the previous holding with the jack, if you put the king up and lost to the ace, you'd have given a trick away. So I think that's enough for today on leading. The key here, as I say, if you're leading clubs, if you want to lead, try and lead a different suit. I suppose there may be times you want to lead clubs because they bid every other suit, then lead the ace. But I much prefer the ace to promise a king. Yep, you can be reasons for leading ace. If you've got an ace doubleton, your partner's bid the suit, or at very high levels in competitive auctions, you might choose the ace, etc. But it's an unusual lead. Okay, look, I'm being told it's a break, so let's go off and have a look at that quiz again, because we're going to look at the answer to the quiz. So, 1 heart from you, 1 no trump, 2 diamonds, pass, and it's your turn to bid. And of course the point here is you've got to decide what 2 diamonds means, and that's the fundamental part. So North's 1 no trump overcall is a strong bid, showing strong, should probably 15 to 18 points, something like that. However, when no trumps are in the auctions, doubles are for penalties. So East, with 9 or more points here, should be doubling 1 no trump for penalties. He knows you've got an opening hand, he's got 9 points. How can they make 1 no trump? And that is crucial. So almost all strong hands that East holds, he will double. Now that changes the meaning of all the other bids, because some of you will be thinking, well, partner's bid 2 diamonds, he's got 10 or more points, let's carry on bidding, maybe even go for game. But if I tell you that 2 diamonds is actually showing a weak hand, that is going to change everything, isn't it? Okay, and what actually 2 diamonds is saying, so let's look at the answer, but what actually 2 diamonds is saying is, partner, I know North's strong, but I think our side will do best playing in 2 diamonds. Okay, I think our side will do best playing in 2 diamonds. I don't really want to have a chat with you. I've looked at my hand. I know you've got an opening hand, but I've got a weak hand with, generally he should have 6 diamonds. Okay, it's a great bid. Look at the East hand there. I've given you an example hand. 2 diamonds is a great bid. He is basically saying, partner, I'm pretty sure 2 diamonds is the best bid. Okay, and the key here is, of course, he looks at his hand. He looks at his hand there and can see 4 diamond tricks as long as we play in diamonds. Can you see that? Because he won't have the entries to make the suit. 1 no trump will probably make. Okay, East might lead diamonds but won't be able to establish the suit, and so North is likely to make 1 no trump. East, of course, is going to make 2 diamonds, okay? Yeah, so some of you won't have come across this idea, so bear that in mind, okay? But understanding that doubles of no trumps are for penalties is important. So if East had another ace in his hand, then imagine he had maybe the ace of spades in his hand as well, or the ace of clubs as well, he would double for penalties, and with a smile on his face, because we'd be expecting to get it a long way down. Okay, not easy, as I say. Bear in mind that you won't. The reason for doing some of these quizzes is just to introduce you to some ideas. Okay, that's enough on that. Let's give you the next quiz. Okay, so here's your hand. Non-vulnerable again, all level. 1 heart from your partner. 2 clubs from West. That's you, sorry. 1 heart from your partner. 2 clubs from you. You chose to respond 2 clubs. I hope you're all happy with that. Doesn't really matter which system you're playing. 2 diamonds from East. And then it's your bid. So there's no interference from the opponents. Okay, no interference from the opponents. And you've got to choose your next bid. Okay. Don't forget, I'll show you this again at the end. And bear in mind that we won't be giving the answer until next week. Next week, yeah, that's Monday. Of course it is, yeah. Okay. All right, that's enough of that. As I say, I'll show you it again in a moment. So, what else are we going to talk about today? Well, I thought we would just have stick with the idea of the online bridge. Just one thing about responding to questions. If you've got a genuine answer to someone who asks a question, what can be handy is if you make a comment at the bottom of the video. So you'll see that when the video is uploaded, you can make comments there, and then people can easily see those comments. Whereas if it's in the chat, and we've seen some great responses in the chat, but then of course it disappears. Now people can go through it again if they want to, but it's less easy to see it. So by making a comment at the bottom, it allows people to have a little look, and for example, you might have an idea about online bridge or that kind of thing. Okay, so do that. I do try to respond to most of them, and usually giving a thumbs up or something like that. So, online bridge. Well, we had a question from Irene, and she had a few things that she wanted to talk about. So, the first thing is she said, how long should you play for? When can you leave? And how do you talk about systems and conventions? Well, do you know, it's an interesting question, how long you play for. Now, first of all, if we're playing privately, and that's what we've said, remember you can tap in. The way you're responding to my video, some of you there, you can do that when you're playing online bridge. Understand that if you're in the middle of a hand, then you can't talk to your partner by himself. You can talk to the table. You can also talk to your opponents, but of course you can't talk to your partner by himself because you might be able to say all sorts of things. Okay. When you're playing as a foursome, clearly you could session. Earlier this week, I've got my bedtime's that's way beyond my bedtime. It wakes me up early in the morning. So 12 boards is great, and I noticed that the EBU are splitting their duplicates in the evenings and the afternoons into 2 sets of 12. You can play both, or you can play just 12. I think that's great. You know, I think that's good. And I wish more clubs would do that when we play live, because 12 boards is a lovely option. You play for about an hour and a half or hour and 20, and then you can wind down, and you can, you know, professionals can do it in the evening and not worry about being disturbed or undersleeping or whatever. So I'd recommend about 12 boards. And when you're playing privately, one gentleman came up with a great idea. Now, I don't know how many of you have come across the Zoom app, but the 4 of them Zoomed each other. Now, Zoom is a way of doing conference calls, etc., but you can have your picture there. So they Zoomed each other. So they had all their picture there. They could chat to each other as well as playing bridge online at the same time, which I thought was great. Now, that does require a bit of savvy, obviously. But if you all downloading Zoom is free of charge. And you know, I wouldn't mind if a few people told me. Bear in mind, this is if you're playing privately. Someone is saying their Zoom is great, so do have a try with that. And if someone wants to explain it a bit more in the comments underneath, that would be great, because some of you could have a go with that. But it means you get that social element a bit more, because typing isn't always easy. Systems and conventions. If you're playing privately, you're going to know. If you are playing in a normal competitive element, or playing as a pair against other people, you can select your conventions. You will find there is an tab, your own profile. You can select your profile and select your basic convention there, or you can actually select a convention card. Now that's for the more able, but if you've done convention cards before, they have live convention cards there, and you can go through it. Take your time. If you're going to play with a partner a lot, you can take the convention card. Just to explain, a few people are asking, Zoom is nothing to do with bridge at all. It is a way that you can chat with lots of people. WhatsApp is usually, I think, just between two of you. Zoom allows you to chat like WhatsApp, but with lots of you, and you can have your faces up. So I'm sure a few people will be able to talk about systems and conventions. You'll have, I think they have basic ACL available under their conventions. I didn't think it was so basic when I looked at it, but they have things like SAYC, which stands for South American Yellow Card, and things like that. Okay, so I hope that helps. As I say, please do make some comments if you're more up. Do you know, I don't play that often myself. I'm hoping to play in one of the EBU sessions, maybe even tonight, etc. I'm going to have to give Pete Natras a buzz there. He's listening to this, so if he says yes in the answer column, we might have a game tonight. But we'll see. He might not be free, because I'm sure he's got lots to do, go out, but we'll see. And then maybe I'll play a bit more regularly, and you'll be able to follow me playing. So we'll see how that goes. One last thing then. I thought I couldn't work out if it was back. I've got a blog, and Pete says he's happy to play, so we might have a game tonight. How's that? That sounds good. My blog, I've got a blog. If you do want to follow me, it's really about my family, etc. But I'll probably be putting a little bit more bridge in as well, and that's at Bernard Magee Bridge. If you do want to follow me there, you'll have seen that this morning Alfie was playing with his cards, and he was reading Beatrix Potter. Well, he wasn't, to be fair. I was reading Beatrix Potter, The Tale of Jeremy Fisher, to be exact. So what have we done today? Well, let's just show you that quiz. I mustn't forget that. Okay, there's your quiz to think about for last time. Don't forget, I do want your... Oh, that's the wrong one. I do want your suggestions. We've got a long time. Well, I hope not too long, but plenty of time. So do give me your suggestions for subjects, and we maybe try and look at a hand of the day, that kind of thing. Sorry, hand of the week, maybe tip of the week, those kind of things. So I want to have lots of thoughts, and if you send particularly an online hand, maybe, and if I'm going to play, maybe I will you know, do that, and we'll have some fun, and we can talk about it. Hope you've enjoyed it. As I say, I'll quickly flick that hand up, and 1 heart from your partner, 2 clubs from you, 2 diamonds from your partner. What are you going to rebid? It's a crucial type of hand, so we'll have some fun doing it. We've had some interesting answers, 3 hearts, 4 hearts, that kind of thing. But it's really important, that hand, and we'll talk about that on Monday. I hope you've enjoyed this first week. I certainly have. A learning curve. I can't say a bigger thank you to Helen than I possibly can, because she's helped set this up. And let's enjoy it next week, and the week after, and the week after. Please tell your friends. The more the merrier. And all I can say is thank you very much.